He excluded West Africans. We didn't know anything about Nile Valley civilization. One factor that all these have in common was that they were educated by the very people who wrote them out of history, close quote. Dr. Khalfani, I know you are one of the people in position to change the way we are educated, but the power structure is trying to change the dynamic. The introduction of charter schools is picking up momentum. What is your take on that?
Well, let me first say that I'm a simple, humble servant of the masses.
Okay.
That I'm following the will of the Creator and the ancestors who come before me.
Right.
And so in the context of that, I see my responsibility to be to find whatever best solution creates a reality for our people, our community. And anything that we do for our people, we know has benefited the world.
Okay.
And so when we look at education and the current, and I've had a lot of forums that we've done on education. We have education reform forums that we've organized at the college, a series of them over last year. We have one more we're going to do to talk about this, and I've been working on this. So I think that when we talk about where education is today and how it is that what various systems, is it vouchers, is it charter schools, is it reformed public schools or private schools or parochial schools, I think that there isn't one answer, first of all.
Okay.
And that the answer is that where people of African descent sit, we need to incorporate our history, not just our history, but the essence of who we are, our beingness, right? In everything we do that deals with education.
Right.
We want the kids to see African artwork on the wall. We want them to see African teachers. We want them to have books that reflect who they are as people.
Right.
And that when you have a charter school coming in, when you have a public school or a private school coming in that doesn't do that, they all do our kids disservice.
Right.
They do us as a community disservice. Because any of those schools that don't incorporate that, what happens is that you create a reality where kids, one, you have disarray in the schools, which we see in all the schools going on around here, in New Jersey, in New York, in Los Angeles, Chicago. We have disarray in our community. Why? Some of the principals have said to me it's because the kids don't have knowledge of self. If we incorporated Sankofa into the schools, and that's supposed to be done in the state of New Jersey. There was legislation passed in New Jersey called the Amistad legislation.
Okay.
And the Amistad legislation says that African and African American history has to be taught in all the schools, not just the schools where students of African descent are, but throughout the entire state of New Jersey. Because everyone needs to know the truth about the history of people of African descent as it fits within the context of American history and social studies in these classes.
Right.
But unfortunately, the law is there, but the execution of that law has not happened. So you haven't had a situation where, and I believe New York has an Amistad legislation for schools. Okay. And so in neither situation have you had it compulsorily applied in the schools. So it's a failing of teachers, of administrators to do that. And the resistance that you get in doing that, because it requires retooling. And so we have to figure out how do we incorporate retooling for teachers so that they feel valued and rewarded for that type of educational experience. So that they, when they take that to the students, that then they can get the types of rewards that whether it's continuing aid credit or something else to accommodate that. But we have to hold the folks accountable for the laws that are already on the books.
Right.
The law is there. It's just that we haven't had the institutionalization to make it happen.
They have to promulgate it, no? Exactly. Right. But who was Imhotep? And why is Dr. Kareji Woodson wants people to know about him?
Well, I think he wants us to know about a lot of our ancient historians and scientists.
Right.
Imhotep, the architect. Imhotep, you know, here you have the pyramids. He designs the first pyramids. He does surgery. Imhotep was someone who we should all know about because his greatness continues beyond him to so many degrees we can't even fathom.
Right.
And until we begin to reclaim, and that's what I like that word, to reclaim our greatness, then somebody else will continue to claim it. Here's a great example. You talked about math. Look at Pythagoras. We refer to the Pythagoras theorem.
Right.
Now, where did Pythagoras study? In George G.M. James's book, Stolen Legacy, he talks about Pythagoras studied in Africa, in Kemet. And so if he's studying in Africa, and in one of Plato's books, it was either, I think it's Plato's books, he says that all things great comes from Egypt. If all these people are studied in Kemet, or they studied in Timbuktu, right? If they studied in Africa, then the truth is that it's not the Pythagoras theorem, it's Kemetic theorem number 22, if we will, right? And that, because what that theorem did was that was the calculation of a right angle for the right angle triangle, and that was what they used to build the pyramids.
Right.
So if the pyramids are long before Pythagoras,
right.
So if you have that, then we didn't see the thing is just like land.
Right.
We don't own land. Why don't we own land? Because the land is the creator's. You can't own that which belongs to the creator. If the idea of the building of the pyramids, and the great pyramids of Giza were the tallest buildings on earth until the building of the Eiffel Tower, so you're talking thousands of years, nothing taller than that on the face of earth. And even today, that they've only settled maybe an inch or so, and you don't have buildings that today that can stand as long and as consistent as these pyramids that Africans built. So that you had this science that they used to calculate the building of them, the alignment of the stars, the alignment of the moon, so that that there's portals in these pyramids that align only so many years with certain stars that illuminate the cavity, and it goes through many layers of stone. That doesn't happen by accident. No. These people were great scientists, and their greatness is what we've allowed others to claim. So I often ask the question, what are our pyramids today? Right? And so what are we going to create today as African people that somebody in 3,000 years is going to say, wow, back in the 2000, beginning of 2000, 2010, 2020, this is what Africans were doing, and it's magnificent. Right. We need to make those things, and not only make them, but we need to claim them. See, I used to say that very question, what are our pyramids today? But we actually have them, but we don't claim them that way.
No, we don't claim them.
So if we were claiming them, we claim the gas mask. We claim the stoplight. We claim the microwave oven. We claim so many other things that we brought to the table. Whether it was the straightening comb that was by Madam C.J. Walker, all these different inventions that we brought to the table, that these even the separating of the blood that Dr. Charles Drew, all these things that we did, we need to claim them. Refrigeration for railroad cars, all these different things that we created, those are our pyramids today. You're going to be using the refrigerator. We wouldn't be standing in this building, in this room, with the air conditioning on if it wasn't for Africans. Right. That's our greatness. All of our kids need to know our greatness, because then if they see that, then they know that that's what they can do. Right. What's their contribution today? Right. Right. They have to step up to the plate. We have to give them the challenge. Say, this is what Daniel Hale Williams did. This is what Madam C.J. Walker did. What are you doing? That's what I think we need. That's what I think this is about. All right.
During the 70s and 80s, African Americans went through a vicious struggle to have the African history included in this country's educational curriculum, which was then known as the curriculum of inclusion. Has it been fully implemented across the country?
Well, it's an interesting question, because what has actually happened is that those institutions have been either watered down or gotten rid of. If you look at Colombia, if you look at all these different places where these institutions were, most of them have been undermined. And you have some of them that have been converted from African studies into multicultural or diversity institutions. But in the process of doing that, the challenge, or really the threat, is that none of those communities get served adequately. That is, that the European community is served through, when you take a history class, it's history. No, it's not just history, it's European history. But they don't have to say European history, because history is European history. When you take an English class, you don't have to take European history, because English is European English. So that's why you have to address, unfortunately, I would say, on some levels, African history, or African American history, or African Caribbean history in specific classes that are separate from those, because there hasn't been a system of inclusion. There hasn't been an idea about looking at these subject matters from a holistic perspective. If we really want to tell the story of American history, then we have to talk about the contributions of Africans. Because you wouldn't have an America without Africans.
No.
Not the way we see it today. The physical building, they didn't just bring anybody here. The people who they brought were people with specific skills. The brothers and sisters from Sierra Leone that are in the Gullah Islands in South Carolina, that these brothers and sisters were rice growers. So they brought the understanding of how to grow rice to folks who didn't know how to grow rice, because they had been doing it for hundreds of years already, maybe even thousands of years. And so and they're making these connections now. That is, when I was talking with the folks from Sierra Leone, and the president of Sierra Leone was here, and I was at his dinner, that these connections that are being made between the Sierra Leoneans and the people in the Gullah Islands. And we have to understand these connections. We need to go down to the Gullah Festival and see what it is. I believe it happens in May every year. We need to go and make that understanding, because these folks still speak African languages right here in the United States. And then when you go down to Louisiana, right, that you have folks who that still have a great connection, not just to French culture, but to African culture. And we want to say that, oh, they're practicing voodoo. No, they're practicing voodoo, but voodoo. And so that their understanding of spirituality is a carryover from their understanding of African cultural systems. Religion is a cultural manifestation. It's part of the culture. And so that until we look at it that way, we're missing part of it. We need to push the envelope to make sure that we're drawing these connections. We need to take the challenge of Carter G. Woodson, miseducation of the Negro, but he also wrote Education of the Negro. And so we need to talk about what is our educational process today that's building on that. We need to look at all these different books that Du Bois and Marcus Garvey and Nkrumah, all these different works that these folks wrote, and even folks currently are writing. We need to get re-engaged into the dialogue and encourage our young folks to do so. And when they get inspired, and that's what we have to do. We have to inspire them. That's our job. As their elders, and I'm still an elder in training. we have the responsibility of helping them to see those connections. And when we do that, and we fail to do that, then the ancestors look at it in a particular way. And we need to understand that if we don't do that, that we're failing in our obligation. We're failing in our responsibility. Folks died. The only reason that we're here today, the only reason that I'm here, my bachelor's is not because I'm smart. My master's and PhD is not because I'm overly intelligent. It's because somebody died for me to be there. Someone played the ultimate sacrifice for me to get that. Somebody had a dog bite them. Somebody had a baby who was thrown overboard on a ship. Somebody had a sister who was molested. Someone had a child who was taken from them and sold to somebody else.
Right.
All these different things are the reasons why I have the ability to sit here and talk with you today. And I'm keenly aware of the obligation that I have because of their ultimate sacrifice.
Kwame Ture said,